Good morning, mathematicians. I want to take a couple minutes to review the concepts of area and perimeter, which you will be using in this Valentine project, especially boys and girls, because the area that we're finding, as well as the perimeter, for many of your letters will be irregular. So we won't be able to use the basic formula. We really need to look at what area is and what perimeter is in order to find those mathematical concepts for our letters. For the sake of an example, I went ahead and shaded the letter O on my grid. If you don't know how to use the fill in Google Spreadsheets, go over and make sure that you review with that video where I explain exactly how to use that Google tool. Now, area is the measure of the inside of a shape. So when I look at this letter O, I'm referring to what is actually shaded in pink as I talk about the area of this letter O. Typically, the formula that we use for a four-sided shape for area is length times width. Now, I technically could use that in this shape because I do have a length measure and a width measure. And then I would need to take away what is not shaded inside because this is not part of the area of O. It's not included in my letter. So for this letter, we really could use the formula of length times width. This will happen sometimes for your letters if you have something like O or U, where you can use the formula and then subtract what is not shaded in your letter. But for other letters, like M, for example, really the formula is not as helpful for those. And we'll talk about what you can do with those letters in just a second. So first of all, boys and girls, when I look at the length of this letter O, I see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have a length of 9 for this particular shape. I have a width of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so I'm looking at a length of 9 and a width of 7. Okay, now I also want to know what the area of this inside square is because I'm going to need to deduct or subtract this from that overall area because it's not included. It is really the hole in the middle of my O, the area. Well, I see that this is a square that is a 3 by 3 array. So the square inside is comprised of 9 square units because look, I've got 3 by 3. I've got a hole that is 9 square units. Okay, let me, just so that I can show you exactly what I'm thinking and what I'm doing. You will not need to do this. You, of course, will be able to use scrap paper and make your calculations on your scrap paper and then include them in your table. But just for the sake of this example, boys and girls, I want to show you how we can use the formula to find the overall area, okay? And then after we find the length times the width, so I'm going to put this in parentheses because I'm going to do this first. Remember, parentheses say, do me first. Then we're going to be subtracting those 9 units that are not actually included in the overall area. Well, I just counted and found that this was a 9 by 7, right? 9 by 7 array really was what made up my overall area. I know that 9 times 7 equals 63. And then I'm going to take away those 9 units that are the hole in my O. So now I can come to the conclusion, the solution, that I am looking at 54 square units. Okay, I know that this is 54 square units because I have found my length and width. I multiplied that together and I took away my 9 units. Now, boys and girls, this worked because I was looking at a letter O that really is a four-sided shape. This area really works best. This area formula really works best, of course, when those letters have those nice straight sides. So even the letter U, if I had this as a U, I'm going to take away my shading here just so that I can show you this. If I had the letter U here, again, I could still use the basic formula because I still am looking at a 7 times 9 array. But now what I would have to take away would be more than 9. I would have a 3 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I'm going to be taking away a 3 by 6. So let's come here. Really, I'm finding the area of even that inside, well, the area of that white portion of my O, which is really looking at 18 units. So now the white portion is 18 units because I had more of that area that was being taken away, of course, with my U. I had a greater portion that was white. So here I'm going to be taking away 18, and this is going to change my answer. Now with a little calculation, I find that I actually have 45 square units to the U. So see where when you are finding the area of your letters, you're really finding the area of irregular shapes. There's various ways that you can do this, but I've shown you one good way. Let me show you in this example. In this example, like this M has a lot of area where it's irregular as I'm looking at this M. When you have a letter like M, you may not even want to think about the entire letter at the beginning. Instead, you might want to break this into parts. Here I have 2 units wide, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units high. So I know this 2 by 7 is 14 square units here. I know this side is also 14 square units. So of course that's going to give me 28 square units so far. And then I would just come in and count what is in here. I know I have 28 square units already. Well, I have 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36. So see how with this M, I really broke it into parts. I thought about the area of this rectangle that makes up my M, this rectangle that made up my M, but then really, boys and girls, I just came in and counted these particular shaded areas. So again, guys, we're thinking outside the box. We're going to think about irregular area. And to find that irregular area, boys and girls, sometimes you're simply going to count the number of squares that make up the letter. Okay, now let's switch gears. We've talked about area. Let's come over here and think about perimeter. Remember that perimeter is just a one-dimensional measure of the outside of a shape. So just as I'm showing you with my mouse, it's this particular line that goes around my letter U. That is the perimeter of my shape. Again, this is irregular. I'm not taking length plus width like you might do if you had a rectangle. Instead, very important that you think about where you're starting. I'm going to start here at my top left corner. And then to find the perimeter of this shape, it's like I'm going to literally walk around it with my mouse, and I'm just going to count the length of these measures as I go. Some of them will be the same, like this measure, and this measure will be the same. But again, I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to go ahead and walk around. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44. So again, boys and girls, notice that with a regular perimeter, it is okay to quite literally just walk around the shape and count up as you go. That's just fine. Some of these perimeters, like that M that we saw, are going to be quite irregular. The most important thing to do to avoid that common error with perimeter, the most important thing that you need to do is remember your starting point and make it your end point. Sometimes kids forget where they start and they end up adding lengths again. So be very careful with that and ensure that you start and stop at the same place. Boys and girls, this is how we find the perimeter of a shape as well as the area of a shape. When you have found those things, you're going to come down to this table and note them on your table down below within this row that is marked letters. You might include more than 3 letters on your Valentine. You can see in my example that I included quite a few letters. But remember, you only have to give the mathematical application for 3 of those letters. So as I looked at my letters, you can see that I chose letters that maybe would be a little bit easier to find the area and the perimeter of. I didn't include that tricky M. I could have. I know how to find the area and perimeter of that. But it's okay to kind of ask yourself, okay, which one of these do I feel most comfortable finding? And then go from there. If you're ready for a challenge, maybe pick one of those letters that have even more irregularity, and you can find the area and perimeter of those letters.